Today we're with John Kelly. John Kelly is a personal injury attorney located in Phoenix, Arizona. He's agreed to answer some questions online that were posted. If you've actually been injured in the Phoenix area or anywhere in Arizona for that matter, feel free to give him a call. He's open to answering any questions you have. And on top of that, he's actually agreed to answer questions below the video. So if you have a question just from watching this video, or if you have been injured, all you need to do is simply post your questions at the bottom of the YouTube video, and John will actually come back and answer those questions directly for me. So with that said, John, go ahead and ask you a few questions that were posted online. The first one we had was, do cases typically settle, or do they go to trial?
Okay, Ryan, thanks for the introduction. Regarding the question of whether cases typically settle or they go to trial, a very common question that I get in my practice, and the answer may surprise people, that actually I've heard numbers of up to 95 and even higher % of cases actually do settle before they go to trial. There's actually a lot of work that goes into the settlement process, and there's different times during the process where the case may settle. So it may settle right off the bat before a complaint is ever filed. It may settle after a complaint is filed, but before a trial commences. It may settle during arbitration. It may settle, any time in between in the process. There's a discovery process, so there's a lot of time that typically will pass before you get to an actual trial. So I guess the numbers are very high percentage of those cases do settle. And usually that's a good thing for the clients. Sometimes, though, if the insurance company is not being fair, it's better to go to trial and hold them to their task,
Understand. Okay. Next question we had was kind of a general question, but there wasn't a lot of details, so you might have to put some points on this one. But how do I know who's liable for my?
Okay, so knowing who is liable for the injury can be interpreted. This question kind of is pretty broad, but I'll attempt to answer it as best as I can. First, we have to make a determination of who is at fault for the accident or the injury. So sometimes we don't know exactly who's at fault, so there has to be an investigation done to determine who's at fault. What parties are involved? What actions did they have? Or what part they in a scenario? And there's a determination of who's at fault. But then the other question to ask with this question is, who is liable for the injury, is what insurance is involved with the parties that are at fault. So sometimes we know who's at fault, but there's multiple insurance companies that are involved with that at-fault party. So we have to do an investigation to see what policies are potentially out there for compensation, and sometimes there's multiple policies that we could go after. So there's a whole gamut of situations that we need to look at in each case, and any good attorney is going to sit down with their client, go over the facts of the case in detail, and interpret those facts, apply it to the law, and then find out what our best method is moving forward.
Okay, all right, makes sense. This question is much more specific. It's a little longer, so bear with me. I fell when walking into a major department store. I own a small company, and they are not going to compensate me for, the insurance company is not going to compensate me for missed sales on my days off. Is this fair?
There is ways of getting compensation for missed work or missed sales, but the important thing to do in this scenario is to keep good records of your missed work because of the injury. So what I always tell clients to do is to keep a journal of how long they're out of work and what times they're out of work and how that's affected them. The other thing that we need to look at is what kind of compensation they would typically get if they were able to work on a regular basis. and compare it to how they are now, how much income they're able to make now. It's easier if they're an employee that makes an hourly wage, and their employer can write a note that said that they missed this amount of work, this many hours, and we can do the math that way. Someone who's self-employed, it becomes a little more complicated, and that's why more detailed information needs to be taken down. And so it's a good idea to really make very clear and accurate notes about how much time you're missing, what missed opportunities you've had, and sit down with your attorney and come up with a plan to present that to an insurance company in a way that they will understand and be able to compensate you for it.
I understand. Okay. And last question we had was, I was injured at work, and I'm currently receiving workman's compensation. Can I get more than just my workers' compensation?
Yeah, it's actually a good question. When you accept workers' compensation, there are times where that's your only avenue of recovery. So if you're getting the workers' compensation, you won't have other opportunities to get anything else. There are a number of situations, and I don't want to go into specifics because each case is very different, but there are a number of situations where you actually can bring a personal injury claim aside from your workers' compensation claim. And so you really need to sit down with an attorney and go over the specific facts of the case so that they can evaluate, apply the law, and determine if you have other avenues that you can get compensated. Just another side note there is that there are certain statute of limitations issues that prevent you to bring certain claims beyond a certain amount of time. So if you've been getting workers' compensation for a certain amount of time and want to then bring a personal injury claim, you'll want to act fast because your time may be tolling on that issue.
Okay. All right. Well, that's probably some good advice there. With that said, if anyone that's watching this has any additional questions, like I said, you can post them below to the YouTube questions. John will get back to you. If you have an immediate question, you can always just call their office or visit their website. We've provided the link below to his website. And with that said, John, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, Ryan.